Welcome back to Two Bros in a Rojo. I'm Steve Reilly, joined as always by the two brothers, Kevin and Steven Reilly. Football's back, guys. How do we feel about that?
Woo, baby! We're finally back, bitches! Best time of the year. I felt like a kid on Christmas Eve this morning, or Christmas Day, or whatever you want to call it. It doesn't really matter, because I was so looking forward to this game. You know, it's excited to see the reigning Super Bowl champs stomp their division rival, because we all know it's probably going to happen. I mean, the Cowboys just seemingly trading away their future in the offseason. They're really good at doing it. They're always disappointing their fans. Classic Cowboys. Anyway, go Birds tonight. Let's start the season off good. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Let's start by spitting on the other quarterback.
For those listening, it is September 4th. We're recording this actually during the weather delay of the Eagles-Cowboys game. And so we already know it didn't start off well for my Eagles.
No. And my prediction would have changed had I known that Carter was going to spit a loogie directly on Dak Prescott's chest to start the game off with. But still, predicting Birds to win.
Man, not even one play into the game.
No, it didn't even start one play.
It's so weird because Jalen Carter's made such good decisions before this. I don't know why he would do something like this.
Or if he drove his car over to Prescott's house tonight to apologize.
Only if his good buddy was with him.
Oh, jeez.
Too soon?
Too soon? Sorry.
Well, I mean, we'll see how it turns out for myself. Actually, we'll see how it turns out for this podcast as soon as that game comes back on.
Yeah, exactly.
We'll see how much I'm paying attention at that point in time. But let's go back to the weekend.
We'll go to disc golf at that point.
Yeah, I'm sure that's what they really want to hear. Let's go back to this weekend where, Kev, big upset on your part.
Man, it was awesome. I'm not going to lie. Really had little expectations for the Seminoles. You never know what you're going to get in the transfer portal. Obviously, there was a lot of smack talk, too, leading up to that game. A little bit nervous, not going to lie, because historically the Seminoles have been pretty good at talking smack, but not always backing it up, so to speak. Goes back to the Dion days with, our rap that was a spinoff of the Miami Boys. Anyways, it was a lot of fun. We actually got to hang out together and watch the game, so they got to see me embarrass myself. A lot of Ric Flair woos. And, it was fun. It was fun to cheer for my team. And after last season, it was pretty embarrassing. So, good start to the season. I'm not really going to be convinced about anything until we play Miami week 5.
You going to buy one of those shirts that says Nick can't save them?
No, definitely not. But anyway, it was funny, though. I mean, really, total mic drop by, Castellanos. Yeah.
It is weird being in Florida and seeing an entire bar cheering for Florida State when I'm not in Tallahassee. But that's how much everybody else hates Alabama, and it was wonderful.
Yeah, it was fun. The Gators, they played some team that I think just graduated from middle school. It was their Pop Warner team, I think they played, right? And, I mean, they absolutely annihilated them. I'm pretty sure the backups played more than the starters did.
Yeah, they played the school from Long Island.
If I know what Long Island's known for, definitely football. That's what it's known for.
But for what it's worth, they look good. It's always good to get a game under your belt. It's hard to go out there like Arch Manning. You go out there and you play arguably the best defense in the entire nation in college football. They got Matt Patricia's back there brainstorming the whole season how you're going to come out and stop that offense. So it's totally nice to get out there, get flowing. So this should be a test this week. USF, Steve, you called it when we did the pick 'em, even though you didn't actually pick them. But you did say they were a sneaky pick, and they came out and stuck it to Boise State. And I'll eat crow on that one because I did not see that coming.
Listen, I didn't see that coming, even though I read it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I guess they're experts for a reason.
Yeah. I feel more I feel better about talking about NFL. I feel like I have some justification there. It's really tough. College football is tough for me. There's too much movement, and I don't know. Trying to evaluate high school kids and stuff. I have a real life, and football is not my full-time job. This is purely a hobby. So
I think it's a hobby for all of us.
Yeah.
Getting together with everyone we did for the draft, that was a lot of fun. I don't know how you guys feel about the pick 'em. We had to go through just to watch the games just to make sure that we can find out who chooses what slot, but I enjoyed that.
I thought it was fun. It was a really fun little idea to do. I was scrambling a little bit to get the draft order set before the draft started, but that was all right though. It still worked out, and it was. I thought it was a fun way to do it.
Yeah, a little different. I didn't mind it at all, and I actually really like the way that we do it, where just because you win the draft order pick, you do not have to automatically have the first pick, because some people don't like that. And actually, shout out to Blake. He's the guy that won to pick him, and he did not take the first pick. He actually decided to go with the fourth pick. So, that was his own choice. You didn't have to get kind of doomed into a position that maybe you don't really like. And I've been in that first pick before and felt like pretty uncomfortable about having to wait 23 picks until you get your next pick or something like that. I don't know. It just depends on the individual.
Steve was going to add something, but I guess not.
Well put.
Nailed it. How'd you feel you did in the draft? How do you like your team?
My team is way better than everybody, and that's all that matters.
I feel like we hear this almost every year. It's kind of comical at this point. I actually feel like I have a solid squad. I will say Devonta Smith has been kind of a stinker tonight. It's been mostly the Jalen Hurts and Saquon show, and then with a lot of Dallas Goedert 3-yard passes. I still can't be upset about it. I think I got a really well-rounded squad. I'm pretty happy. Javonte Williams just sitting on my bench with 2 touchdowns. That's a good one.
I got Goddard on my bench. He has.
We got him on our ESPN bench too.
That's true.
Yeah, good time to mention that. The 3 of us are going to be co-managing a team, and we'll kind of talk about moves and decisions and stuff that we'll be making through the season. That way we can kind of get the idea of how to manage a team if you have no clue what you're doing. I'm sure, the very few listeners that we do have probably actually play fantasy football for the most part. So, but for those who don't, it'll be kind of a fun little thing for you to follow along, and actually it might be a good little segue into kind of getting to the talking about fantasy football. We did say we were going to do that. One of our listeners had requested it. She really doesn't know anything about fantasy football and asked that we talk about it. So
we actually had a couple of people ask about it. So
perfect. I knew about one, and got to get the people what they want.
Yeah, exactly. Just to kind of dive into fantasy football as a totality, like we'll talk about the different type of leagues, maybe talk about different type of draft styles, some of the scoring that goes on. I guess the best way to put it was we could start with just the different types of leagues. The main kind of leagues that we have are standard, or what they call a redraft league, a keeper league, a dynasty league. There's daily, best ball, guillotine, vampire, survivor. But really the main 3 is kind of like the dynasty, your redraft, and maybe a keeper, maybe even a daily. Nowadays with the way that gambling is. Any of you guys want to tackle on how those work?
I'll just start off with kind of explaining a lot of these extension leagues that he mentioned after the standard all kind of derive from wanting more out of just basic fantasy rosters. And at least my true remembrance of fantasy football was when we used to play video games like Madden or NFL Fever or ESPN or you name it, NCAA football. You could make your own team by having a fantasy draft where you have a pool of all of the players in the entire league come into this pool. And then you are acting as the general manager, and you get randomly assigned a pick of 1 through 32, and that's where you're picking. And you build your team based on this. You go through and build a whole team. It's like 60 picks or something like that. I can't remember exactly how many it was. But you can start off with the quarterback, you can start off with the offensive lineman, you can start off with defensive linemen, whatever you want. This was in video games. And now with fantasy football, what it is you draft a team based on a dedicated build-up or a mock-up of a roster that is predetermined. Most of it is very offensive driven. And where the defensive players come to play more is when you get into these deeper leagues, usually the dynasty. You can do it in some of these. In our guillotine league, we have an individual defensive player, which you actually have to draft a defensive player, and then they get rewarded points based on how they perform on the field. The way that your team scores points is all based on the rules that your league has set in place, that everyone has agreed upon, or at least the commissioner has said, and everyone, appreciates the rules. And then that's how you build your team. Most basic rosters are a quarterback, 2 wide receivers, 2 running backs, a tight end, a defense. Sometimes there will be a flex play in there, which is a wide receiver, running back, or tight end decision. And then you have a bench. And usually a bench is somewhere around 5 or 6 players, and they can make up whatever you want. That's how basic fantasy was. And it used to be there was no real points based on catches or throws or extra points. It was just like touchdowns, receiving yards, passing yards, and rushing yards. And then it just expanded off of that over years and years and years of people just being kind of stat junkies and wanting more and more out of it, just making the gameplay more and more interesting.
Exactly. Steve, you want to dive in what the difference maybe between a standard redraft league and a dynasty league is?
Yeah. So a standard redraft league would be you pick your whole team all over again every single year. So whatever players you have this year, you're done with them after this year. A dynasty league is as soon as you draft that team, you get to keep those players for as long as you like. If you want to keep somebody all the way through until they retire, and even if they retire and you still want to keep them, you can. Wouldn't recommend it. But those are the two main differences between what we would call a standard redraft and a dynasty league. One you're keeping for the long haul, and then the other one you're just getting rid of like a bad ex and getting a new one the next year.
It's called redraft because you redraft a new team every single year. So it doesn't matter who was on your team last year. Even if you won it last year, doesn't matter. You got to redraft an entire new team. With a dynasty team, you could have a great team or you could have a stinker. You're stuck with it. And then you got to figure out how to try to make it a winner again. Sometimes they'll play great, sometimes they won't. And you just got to figure it out. And you get to trade draft picks in that that format, where in redraft, we tried to do it. It doesn't work. You got to have an incentive to make draft picks valuable.
And what branched off the standard redraft league was also the keeper league. And what that is in essence, whoever you drafted, you'll get a certain amount of keepers. Maybe it might be 1, 2, or 3. And depending on how the rules set, either they'll be your first 3 rounds the next year during the draft, or it might be based off of where you drafted them the previous year. So if you draft them in the 10th round, they might be your 11th round pick. It all depends on how those league settings are. But that keeper league came off of the standard redraft league. And then just to add on to the last one, which is probably the most popular when it comes to gambling, is the daily DFS or daily fantasy league, which is every single week you have a set amount that you have to pick your team based off of. So you would have to get kind of what Kevin was saying, a quarterback, 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, a tight end, even a kicker in some of the dailies. But you'll be doing that every single week. You'll be redrafting it every week and getting the players that you need. That's more on a gambling basis. When you're staying within the fantasy realm, like we're talking about currently, once you get your league set, whether it's going to be that standard redraft or the dynasty, then you're going to go on to the actual draft itself. And there's different variations of the draft. There's the auction draft, there's a standard draft, there's a snake draft. When you guys want to dive into how each one of those work?
Yeah, sure. I'll do the standard draft because I'll let Kev do the auction draft because I know he likes that. I mean, we all do, but I know Kev really likes it. So standard draft is, let's just say you have a 12-team league. The picks go in order from 1st through 12, but then it's called a snake draft because then it would go 12 through 1. So it reverses after the first round. So you go 1 through 12, then 12 through 1, and then back 1 through 12 again. And then you do that all the way through however many picks you would have in your league, which would include your quarterback, 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, tight end, or whatever the settings are. Ours is 16 rounds, so you do that for 16 rounds, and that would be a snake draft.
The difference in auction draft is where there's not a set order about who's picking at which particular spot. But what happens is the kind of going back to where I was talking about before, where all the players are in one giant pool. So everyone's in a giant pool, and then there is a draft order. But the only thing that's really relevant is you are selecting the player that goes up on a auction bid. And so everyone in the league has the same opportunity to bid on these players. And so if you want to pick a popular one this year was Jamar Chase, because he was Triple Crown winner last year, won a lot of people's fantasy leagues. If he didn't, he got the playoffs almost certainly. And you could bid for him. and they tell you, depending on what format you're using, what the average bid for this is. And you get a set amount of money. Most standard auction leagues will give you $200 and to build your roster with, and you have a maximum bid that you can do. From there, you have to decide how you want to build your roster. And you can go like hero wide receivers, like I've seen Steven do a few times, where he'll go in and pick Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson, and he'll spend $120 on these two players, and then he's only got $80 left to build the rest of his team. But you know you got two really good players, and then it's a matter of finding value later on. He did that in our 14-team guillotine league, and that strategy doesn't work as well with more teams, because then you have less and less players that you can bid on because now you have less money. So you got to there's definitely a strategy with not just going out and making it rain on a couple players, because you really got to think about how you want to build it up. So
so obviously once you have your style down, so once you know if it's a standard, if it's a dynasty, and then once you know the type of draft it's going to be, whether it's auction, that standard draft, which would go 1 through 12, as Steve was saying, but then it would go 1 through 12 again, or the snake draft, which goes 1 through 12, then 12 back around to 1. Once you know those, then before you get into that draft, the best thing to do is know the scoring system. And there's usually 4 styles of scoring systems that I'm used to, unless these guys will know more. But there's usually your standard scoring, your half PPR, your full PPR, and then tight end premium. So we want to break those down.
Yeah, just to keep it real simple, PPR means point per reception, and that's relevant for both running backs and wide receivers, and really for anyone that catches the football that could be getting you points. Tight end premium is, since the tight end spot is not, in most situations, not as valuable as some of these other positions, you get extra points per reception for that specific position. That's what a tight end premium is. And the standard is there's no points per reception. It's just mostly touchdowns and yardage. That's really it. And then there's plenty of other variants you can put in there. Like in our league, we added another variant, which is for every first down reception you get a half a point. And so it's kind of, we don't have tight end premium, but we have that. And tight ends, like if you're watching a game tonight, pretty sure Dallas Goedert got about 4 first downs. So that's his premium, because they're targeting him on those short routes. And so it does kind of tend to pay off in that regard. It just depends on what you guys like. And it's taken 15 years for us to get to the way that we have ultimately cultivated our league. It's been a lot of trial and error and observing kind of trends and exploitations of the system that's in place currently, just to try and balance it for everyone, for it to be as fair and fun as possible. So
the half PPR would be essentially what he was saying too, but it's just you get half a point per reception. Self-explanatory. Seems like a lot of leagues nowadays are starting to like kind of consider going with a half PPR league and then a half point per first down. A lot of people are preferring that because it seems like it's a little more balanced that way, because the longer receptions are rewarded, but you're not getting like a lot of points for like, receptions in general unless they are longer. But that's just a thought. Again, those are more like expert leagues, and if you want to just go basic, just do full PPR like everybody else.
A couple other things to add. There are leagues that offer bonuses, which is if like a player has a receiving, just a reception like over 40 or 50 yards, they get extra points, or a quarterback throws a pass that's 40 or 50 yards or more or whatever, you get points. Or there's touchdowns that are that long, they get extra points. And so it's really important to know these rules, because certain players have better tendencies to execute that. Like someone like Joe Burrow, who threw a lot of really long touchdown passes last year. He probably made a ton of points in those kind of leagues. And a good example of this, really knowing the league settings, is I helped one of my friends, my buddy Mike. He had a fantasy draft, and I was looking at the fantasy settings for his league, and the passing touchdowns were only 4 points per passing touchdown. So the first thing I noticed was that. I was like, Mike, I'm not really going to value any of these pure throwing quarterbacks in a league like this, because someone like Jalen Hurts or Lamar Jackson is going to have a way more value. So he was fortunate to have Jalen Hurts fall to him, and you've already seen tonight. He scored two rushing touchdowns already tonight. Something like that. I mean, those things are definitely worth paying attention to because that will help really put you in a position to make it to the playoffs. Once you get to the playoffs, a lot of it's just luck, to be completely honest with you. But the goal is try to get there and get a healthy team and try to make some trades to continuously build your roster.
Yeah, it's hard when you're first starting out and somebody asks you to join a league. You're not going to be able to look at these settings. It's just what it is. You can't usually see these settings until you get in there, so you should ask them questions. You should ask them what type of league it is, if it's a standard redraft, if it's a keeper, if it's a dynasty type of league. Then ask them, what type of draft it is. It's going to be an auction draft. It's not going to be an auction draft. Those will be key things to know. And then, obviously, the main ones we're talking about now, PPR standard. You usually want to ask what that is. Once you know what it is, then you can start from there. Then once you're in the league, you kind of take a look, see how they have it scheduled out or how they have it set up. And then from there, you can kind of figure out how you're going to strategize for that draft, because that's really going to be the big point.
Really, some additional advice is it doesn't hurt just to get on the internet and read a little bit about it. Say what would be some roster strategy, some roster builds. It's okay to go in with a predetermined plan and then just execute it. I'm not personally a fan of that. And I know, Ginger, you are. I mean, you have a kind of a foundational strategy that you like to do, and that's totally fine. Like, I certainly didn't plan on going in there and getting I went and Joe Burrow and then premium tight end. That was not really my plan. It's just the draft fell to me that way. And I took it because those guys I thought were going to be high value plays and give me a good chance of at least starting a season off solid.
I do a lot of research before I go into most of my drafts just to understand what's happening. And I already do have a strategy that I tend to go with. I tend to look at whatever position is going to be the most needy, and I tend to draft that position more often. And the only reason for that is I can make up my team as I go with trades.
Yeah.
I agree with everything you guys said. I didn't leave the room at all, and I've been listening the whole time.
Yeah.
Steve, since we're ending this segment on fantasy football, we want to inform the people of our team and who's on our team, the podcast team, that is.
Yeah, I don't want to exit the app and then have my phone crash again.
All right, that's who's on our team.
No, I can do it off memory. Well, most of it, I think. Crap, who did we get at quarterback? I already forgot.
But it was a keeper league, and we had two really good players that we had to decide between, and we all three of us decided it was between Bijan Robinson, the running back for the Falcons, and Jahmyr Gibbs, the running back for the Detroit Lions, and the three of us all kind of agreed that, it seems to make the most sense that the Dijon Mustard Man is going to be the guy that we stick with for the theme of the podcast, but also just we kind of like his prospects a little bit better this year too. So
yeah, so that was our keeper. So that was our first pick. And then we actually ended up getting the first overall pick. And the way he ran this league was all your keepers are your first round pick. And then he restarted again 1 through 12, and then started the snake draft up 1 through 10, then 10 through 1. The second round was just the beginning of the snake draft with an initial keeper round. If you didn't keep your keeper, you got to pick in that first round. We did keep our keeper, which was Bijan. We ended up with Malik Neighbors as our other receiver. Then, we got my boy Travion Henderson. I bullied them into that one,
A little bit of a reach on Travion, but I mean, he wasn't going to get back to us. So
yeah, you got to take your guy when you like him. You take him. Yeah, we went Jaden Daniels in the 4th. And then I can't go pick by pick, but
Garrett Wilson at the very end of the 5th. And then was it Cortland Sutton?
Yeah, Cortland Sutton. Yeah, so our receivers ended up being, this is a 2 receiver, 2 running back, and a flex. So, and then it is a full PPR. And whenever that is the case, my flex I do like to usually get as a wide receiver because they do get that full point per reception. The 2 receivers ended up being Malik Neighbors. Wow, my memory is horrible right now because we just said all that. Whatever they're saying. Oh, because Garrett Wilson's so unmemorable, and I can't believe you guys made me deal with him again.
it was such a great value we got about.
Yeah, I've been trying to go with this Garrett Wilson breakout for the past 2 years, and it's just been nothing but pain. So now I get to experience it a third year. Can't wait because now he's got a quarterback. Yeah, he can't throw. Never mind. Who cares?
Third time's a charm, baby.
Yeah.
Do you have the rest of the team just quickly run through them there?
I don't have it on my screen. And I can't. Really
Did we go with Mbuka or
Our tight end was David Njoku.
Joku? Yeah.
Dallas got her on the bench. And then we got Ricky Pearsall as our fourth receiver.
That's right, Chris.
Yeah, and then we went running back heavy. We took my boy Bill Karofsky as one of our backup running backs. We got Ramondre to back up, kind of to complete the tandem with Travium. Did we get Eckler?
No, we wanted to get Eckler, but he was gone by the time we came back around.
So that's pretty much the guts of the squad. Some of the bench players are not really that relevant. They're kind of spot fillers for the time being. You end up a lot of times those late rounders are kind of flyers, maybe backups, handcuffs to other running backs or players, and you can usually cut bait with them unless you want to really feeling strongly about one of them, and then fill it with like new flyers, new hot waiver wire ads, just people that really broke out and showed that they're a big part of their team's offense starting after this week one. You'll get a good idea of what some of these offenses look like. And then one other thing that usually draft a whole defense. I don't think we really mentioned that, but I did mention individual players, but in standard leagues, you tend to draft an entire defensive unit. So then you get scores based on however that's structured. You can make a lot of adjustments and things. It doesn't add a ton, but sometimes these can win you the week for real. Like, I mean, if they come out and just absolutely shut down an offense, you get like 5 or 6 interceptions and a pick six or something like that.
It's also defense / special teams, so you also get kickoff and punt returns added onto that, unless you're in Ron's league because he's a moron. But the special teams gets added on there, or like a blocked kick or field goal, those get added on there. They're all little extra ways of scoring. But like back in the day, if you had a good return man like Devin Hester, like the Bears defense was the best because you're like, ooh, Devin Hester might be able to return a kickoff for me here. You never know. So that's always a fun little extra addition to that defense. But I still like individual defensive players better. It's a little more fun.
Yeah, it just jives with the whole fantasy idea. Instead of just knowing only one side of the ball, you actually learn these defensive players too, which is kind of a habitual problem with fantasy fans and fantasy fans, is you don't tend to learn the defensive players that well. You maybe know like one or two of the marquee guys, but you really start to learn some of these players. And so it just makes watching football more fun. That's all.
If you're out there listening and you have Jalen Carter, he's going to suck week one.
Yeah, it's a bad week one for you.
He's going to hawk Tua your team.
I didn't see that meme already.
Is your game back on, or is it still in weather delay right now?
Weather delay right now, 11:30, so 10 minutes from now.
Perfect. We keep doing this.
All right. Well, let's transition away from fantasy. I think if you have any other fantasy questions, again, internet search will really give you a lot of answers too. Just the main take-home point is just it's okay to ask your commissioner questions.
No, tell them to leave us some comments. We'll answer it on the next one.
Absolutely. We're happy to answer them too.
We finally set up an email account, so you can actually email us now.
What?
What's the email? I don't even know. What is it? And don't we have a Facebook page, and then eventually we'll have a YouTube? I know that there's some, just basic background set up there, but
yeah, we have a Facebook page. We do have a YouTube page. You just got to search for it. You got to find it. There's nothing really on it. You can actually go onto the YouTube page and listen to the podcast.
We should start posting our ices on there.
We can do that.
Oh yeah.
Everybody sends in a video as long as they're okay with us posting it on there, or we're just gonna do ours.
Yeah, I don't know, maybe. And then when is our OnlyFans?
Sweet.
Our OnlyFans, I think, is what he was saying.
I think so too.
Yeah,
that's a photo. We should hold on. Let me.
Yeah, screenshot that picture. That actually might be a good one. That'll be his OnlyFans screenshot picture. His cover photo.
I can't wait to share that.
Yeah, that's a good one. Maybe he'll get a real computer and he can actually do a real podcast with us one of these days.
Let me make sure I share this photo. You should have it now.
Okay, good. I look forward to it. I might actually make that his phone call picture. The profile picture for his phone call.
I think I will too.
I think it's gonna happen. Actually, yep, there it is. Downloading that bad boy. Alrighty. It looks like he's trying to squeeze out a fart.
I was thinking the same thing. Like he's actually with the light in the background. Looks like he might be taking a shit. Like he's actually on the toilet.
Oh, that was great. The timing was so perfect. All right, I don't know. Well, while we're just sitting here waiting for him to rejoin, I'm gonna do that real quick. Hold on. Done. I don't know what his deal is.
Internet?
Yeah, right. Let's see here. That one, I think maybe this is why. Prop it.
There he is.
There he is.
What are you talking about? I've been here the whole time. It's going to be a fan favorite episode. It's going to be the least amount that I've been on there. People are going to love it.
We were just talking about that.
All right, I guess we can continue. Last week we talked about the AFC, so I figured we might as well move on to the NFC. I'm trying to hurry up to get back to my Eagles game. It's about to restart here soon. Last year, the Eagles, obviously, they were world champions. They won the NFC East. This will be the fourth different year that they have a new offensive coordinator. I'm sure Jalen Hurts loves that fact. So they finished last year at 14-3. Obviously went to the playoffs, won the championship, producing the most points in a playoff run with 145. Second in the league coming into this year, or second in the division coming into this year for the NFC East, going to be the Commanders. They had a strong season at 12-5 last year, reaching the NFC Championship game, just falling short to those Eagles. However, despite the surprise that they had last year, I don't think they're going to be a big surprise this year, but they do have a new arsenal. They included Deebo Samuel, and then they also got left tackle Laramie Tunsil.
Oh, yeah, Tunsil, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, to help reshore him. And then it's going to be yet another year under Cliff Kingsbury. I think that's going to really help Jaden Daniels out there. Then we have the Cowboys. I mean, there's lots to talk about the Cowboys when it comes to, they do have a decent offense, but they just obviously gave away Micah Parsons. Giving away your best defensive player is never going to be helpful. And the Giants are just going to be a little bit better this year, but obviously they're still in a rebuilding process. They're going to see if Jackson Dart's going to be the solution after maybe a couple of weeks of Russell Wilson, so we'll have to see how that's going on in there. But what do you guys think about the NFC East?
I think it's going to actually be a battle for the top spot this year. I actually feel like the Commanders are right there. And the Eagles did lose not much offense, but they lost a fair amount of defensive players, like key defensive players. And I think that you're going to see it's going to be a tight race for that top spot. It wouldn't shock me to see even the third place team contending for a wild card spot here. Depends on how it will be. I don't think it's going to be the Giants. I think it would be the Cowboys if they can somehow figure it out. I'm not a fan of the Cowboys. I think I've made it pretty clear. I do not like Jerry Jones. I think he has done a terrible job. I think he got lucky in the 90s, and he had a really great coach that was dead set on winning, and he did whatever it took. And then he wanted all the credit, and then here we are. I mean, they've won 2 playoff games, I think, in 30 years or something ridiculous like that.
You're dead on. I mean, it is a 2-team race. It really is the Eagles and Commanders. And those defensive players that we lost, we being the Eagles, because obviously I play on that team and I know for sure. The key defensive players that we lost this year, Big Game Slay, Josh Sweat, CJ Gardner-Johnson, Milton Williams, all gone.
And Jalen Carter. He's just going to spit on everybody all year.
Well, at least he's gone for one game. It's a game we don't, like, as Eagle fans, we don't want him to be gone for, especially against the Cowgirls. Like, hate that. But yeah, I do think it's a 2-team race in this division. It'll be interesting to see. I think the Eagles now have the youngest defense in the NFL right now by age. It's still a good defense for being that young. It's just going to get better as they get more time.
It's going to be like last year. They're going to, once they start to meld as a unit, once they start to really get to learn how each other's tendencies are, once they get to really meld into that defensive system, you're going to see that team is going to really start to be good again. I think it took until what, Ginger, correct me if I'm wrong here. You guys really didn't start taking off until roughly midseason, right? To where you really started feeling like, damn, we got a team that could do it. Because I know there was some question marks in the beginning of the season. And if I'm not mistaken, the fickle Eagle fans, maybe not yourself, but there are many of them, and you can admit to that at least. They were calling for him to be fired, the head coach.
Yeah, Sirianni, I mean, that happens every year, even when we're doing well. It's probably going to happen even this year as we go. But Vic Fangio being the defensive coordinator was a huge difference. It just took a while for them to start gelling, and it wasn't until after the bye week. After the bye week is when we started really clicking, and towards the end of the season we did, and obviously in the playoffs we did. But yeah, it did take a while. It took a long while, and especially because of the previous year. So in 2023, our defense just went non-existent. About halfway through the season, we started off great, and then halfway through the season, we were giving up points to Arizona that we shouldn't have given up. Like, we were up, I want to say 22 against Arizona, and ended up blowing that game. Yeah, it took a while, and then obviously Eagle fans tend to be, what's the word? Spoiled nowadays, maybe spoiled to a point, or just assholes in general. And so they wanted to get rid of people that we shouldn't be trying to get rid of.
Let's just say they put the ass in passionate.
You can tell he's a dad.
Steve, make a note of that. We'll just cut that. Don't worry about it. On your guys' notes, I agree with pretty much all you're saying. But I mean, I don't know, man. Giving away your best player, usually that does really good things for you. How did that work out for the Giants last year again? I forgot. You gave away Saquon Barkley. Yeah, it did work out really well for the Eagles.
For the team that received the said player.
So I think the Cowboys made a great move to help the Packers out. We'll get to that division later. But one more note on the NFC East. This division has not had back-to-back champions for over 20 years. And on that note, I will be picking the Commanders to win the division. Sorry, Steve.
Yeah. I'm really curious to see how the Giants look once they finally pull the trigger on Jackson Dart, because I actually think he's going to kind of reinvigorate that offense. That's going to probably look like an anemic turd with Russell Wilson. I'm just calling it right now. I think it's going to be like craptastic, and the Giants fans are going to be bummed out, and then he's going to come in. It's going to be like when Baker Mayfield, his rookie year. That's my vibe I'm getting from him, where he came in. I mean, the classic Brown stories, because they're just devastatingly bad all the time. But he came in and he really lit a fire under that team. They ripped off a bunch of wins, and it was exciting. It was a lot of fun. Like, it seemed like it was fun to be a Browns fan for half a season. That's about all they ever get. But so that's what I'm expecting. Or I don't know. I just get the vibe. I think that they have the tools, and their defense is definitely retooled. I think that defense is going to be kind of pretty good, better than they were last year for sure.
The only thing I know about Jackson Dart is he didn't know what a toll road was.
Matter. He knows what a football is.
Yeah, I guess so. How do you not know what a toll road is?
He grew up down south,
You still gotta know when I'm going through this area. Do I have to pay? Well,
you gotta know when you gotta pay the troll toll to get in this boys hole.
Oh my gosh! All right, next division.
NFC North, Detroit Lions. They dominated last year in that division, finishing with a franchise record 15-2. I want to say they swept the division for the first time in franchise history as well, when they earned the number 1 seed, and then proceeded to give that away by losing to the Commanders at home in the divisional round. The Vikings had an outstanding year as well. They went 14-3. That's their best mark since 1998, but they were eliminated in the wild card round. Green Bay Packers ended at 11-6. They earned a wild card spot as well, but they came to Philadelphia and they ended up losing. And then there's the Chicago Bears, which I guess they have Caleb Williams. They got a new head coach. Let's go with that. They got a new head coach that maybe is going to inspire some things moving down the road. What do we feel about the NFC North?
That and $20 will get you a deep dish pizza up there in Chicago. That sounds wonderful. All right, moving on. The Bears are done. They're not in that division. We can talk about the other 3 contenders.
Not a fan of Ben Johnson? You don't think he'll turn it around?
No. It's the Bears. The Bears are just destined to fail, just like the Browns. Sorry, Bears fans.
I'm going to talk a little bit on the opposite side of that, just because I actually really like Ben Johnson. He's an amazing offensive coordinator. We have no clue what he's like as a head coach. I mean, we've talked about this a few times already. How many times have we seen offensive coordinators or defensive coordinators or special teams coordinators come in to a head coaching position and flounder, right? It doesn't always work. And so I hope it works, because the Bears are a proud organization. They've been around since, I mean, forever. I would think in the 20s, right? They were one of the original teams, weren't they? If I'm not mistaken. They had their dominance in the 80s when they had Ditka and that incredible defensive unit that they had there, going back to Walter Payton and that crew of that ragtag crew. I mean, they were awesome. And the 85 Bears, I mean, there's a whole special on ESPN. You can watch it if you're interested. It's definitely worth the watch. They've just lost their identity completely. I mean, the last decent team they had was they did make it to the Super Bowl and lost the Peyton Manning-led Colts with, on the other side was the Peyton Manning of defense, which is Bob Sanders. And, I mean, that was a tough team to run into, right? And so they had Rex Grossman was their quarterback that year.
That's the real issue. No, that was the problem. That's why they didn't win the Super Bowl. I mean,
circling back here, maybe they'll get an identity. I feel like they've been through many, many different head coaches. They've been through many, many quarterbacks. We'll see. Caleb Williams, I don't know. I'm still not sold on him. No, he was ever super hyped up. I know I'm friends with my buddy Eric. He's a huge Bears fan. We talk about this all the time during the draft. He was not happy about their tight end selection this year in the draft, and I don't blame him. Loveland, I mean, I don't know. We'll see, right? And it's just they have a ton. I mean, at one point, I think on their roster they had like 8 tight ends, or maybe even more, 12 tight ends, something insane when you have a limited roster space.
Did he not want him to draft tight end?
I think he was okay if they took Warren.
Yeah, but apparently every NFL team was all about Colston Loveland. They said when he got on the draft board, like there were like 10 teams like trying to offer trades to move up to try and draft him. But I mean, you know what, man? The Bears, Kev, I like that you said that they're trying to find their identity. They found their identity. They've had their identity. They're a bunch of losers. The fact that they had arguably the greatest team of all time and still only won 1 Super Bowl with that might be one of the biggest failures in all of NFL history, next to the 07 Patriots, who couldn't get that ring and lost to a barely 500 New York Giant football club. The Bears are losers. We need to stop talking about them and move on. Steve's got a game he's got to watch. This is taking too long. Why are we spending so much time on the Bears? They're going to be 5-12 this year. Boom. Done. Analysis.
You're probably not wrong. But let's finish up talking a little bit about the division. The Lions lost that guy. I mean, and so we'll see. That team's going to be different too. Can they
lost both guys? They lost their OC, was Glenn, who went over to their Jets.
Their defensive coordinator, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's going to be a totally different look. So we'll see. I mean, I think they're trying to maintain the offense the same for the most part, but I don't know. We'll see. It's going to be interesting. I mean, they still have Dan Campbell, and he's a great head coach. Really love that guy. And they're getting Hutchinson back, who is a huge loss for them in midseason. They're going to be healthy. And we'll see. I think I actually think the biggest disappointment this year, me personally, I just don't know why. I just feel like the Vikings are going to be a letdown.
You're not a fan of J.J. McCarthy?
No, I wasn't even coming out of college. We haven't seen him play one down in the NFL. And immediately, the second he gets a whiff of the field, he gets hurt. Season-ending injury. And then Sam Darnold resurrects his career there. And that's why everyone loves KOC. I mean, their head coach at the Vikings is amazing. I mean, but the Vikings got a lot of confusion there. I mean, they got male tranny cheerleaders dancing around out there. I'm not even sure they know what the hell's going on. It's crazy. Like, we'll see. I don't know. They got a speed demon. on and off the field, and Jordan Addison, who wants to be the next Henry Ruggs. Like, I don't even get it. Like, what the hell?
Sam Darnoldson, the idea that they made Sam Darnoldson a success is the idea that they think they can make J.J. McCarthy a success too. So,
yeah, I get it. I get it. I just didn't feel it. I just felt like he was very much a game manager in college. We'll see. Maybe I'm happy to be wrong because I don't hate the Vikings. I just get a vibe that they're going to be back to a 500 team this year. I don't know.
Yeah, no, you're not wrong. Stefanski's system does make quarterbacks thrive. Like Sam Darnold, like you said, resurrected his career. Was it Josh Dobbs? Was that quarterback?
Yeah, Joshua Dobbs. Yeah,
Josh Dobbs, the Pastronaut, back when he took over, he was having some good games. Like any quarterback you throw in that system is going to be good. So I think McCarthy still will be good. And when you're throwing passes to Justin Jefferson, that's pretty good. But I mean, I think we kind of, need to just acknowledge this one too. We were speaking about a bunch of losers in the Bears. Here's another bunch of losers, the Vikings. They made it to 4 Super Bowls and lost all 4 too. The only reason we don't talk about them like we do the Bills is because they didn't lose 4 in a row like the Bills did. But the Vikings lost 4. They haven't really even made it back since then. So who even cares about the Vikings? Let's move on. Steve's got a game to watch.
They have a cool name, Purple People Eaters.
They sure is. Barney.
By the way, you guys just missed the first tush push of the season.
Oh, what was it for? First down?
Yeah, it was 3rd and 1, so they got a first down off of it.
Oh, thank God. I'm going against Jalen Hurts. I didn't need another touchdown.
I did see the first one, and it was a celebration on a turnover. It was awesome.
That was elite. That was elite for a defensive celebration. That was awesome.
Yeah. Just to finish up this, I actually think the Packers, I like everything they're doing. That trade for Parsons, I think, is going to be the X factor. If he stays healthy, if he's actually healthy, or he manages to at least be healthy by the end of the season, the regular season, into the playoffs, I think that team is poised to win their division.
And the Packers finally threw their fans a bone, and they drafted the wide receiver in the first round.
First time in, how many years was it?
I don't even know the amount, but it's a long.
20 years.
It was a long
years?
time.
Okay.
Yeah, because I don't even think Devontae Adams, who was probably the best Packers wide receiver maybe in the modern era of football. If you want to go back to when it was before the NFL was as it is now, when it was back when the Browns were 12-time champions back then, you could make some arguments otherwise, but I'm pretty sure I think he was a 2nd-round draft pick, right, out of Fresno State.
Yeah, something like that.
I'm just shooting off memory here, so I don't know. For sure.
Now that we're analyzing this division, it really is just filled with a bunch of losers. Like, there's 5 Super Bowls in this division. I think the Packers have 4 of them. These other teams are just straight trash. Like, the Bears got 1, and that's the only other one that the Packers have all this. Packers to win it. I was going to pick the Packers to win it before the Micah Parsons trade. This one just really just locks it up for me.
Tush push number 2 just attempted and made.
Very good.
We're counting that as we go. So watching it.
So that's more successful tush pushes than the Super Bowls combined between Chicago, Detroit, and Minnesota. 2 successful tush pushes, 1 Super Bowl between those 3 teams.
We'll finish up on the North in a quick second, but I do have a question. So the Packers, since they are in the North, were the ones who actually brought it up to get rid of the tush push, and it obviously got voted down. Their biggest complaint was they said it causes injuries. However, there was no data to support that at all. That's why it got turned down. How do you guys feel about that? Do you guys dislike the tush push? I know certain people that hate it, and I know certain people that don't care.
Boo-hoo. Boo-hoo. You know what else causes injuries? Tackling, blocking. All football. Shut up and play, you crybabies. Done.
I actually don't really have a problem with it. I think any team can do it. It's not like the Eagles have a special rule in place that says they're the only team allowed to go out there and pull this off. I'm not against it. Unless you can show me that there really provides an unfair advantage to one team, which I don't think it does, then I'm not against it being done. So
Barkley just made a nice one-handed catch, and he stiff-armed the shit out of somebody. It was great.
Nice. I mean, I think the Packers are just the tushy pushies.
I was actually shocked it was the Packers. I figured it was going to be somebody from the East. However, the entire East voted against it, obviously, because they wanted.
Hey, make sure you cut Kevin's last comment. We'll cut that one too.
Tushy pussies.
All right, so who do you guys have winning the North this year?
I said Packers already. So what about you?
Packers? Okay. So
yeah.
Well, I'm watching the game, so how am I supposed to know?
I don't know. You have ears.
That's true. I do have ears. I also have eyes, and they're paying attention to there.
Yeah, you'll hear my whole rant when you listen back to this and edit it.
I'm sure it's a pretty good podcast. I'll have to give it a go sometime.
Well, who are you picking?
I have the Packers. I actually think the Micah Parsons trade is going to be the elite thing. Kind of what you were saying. That's going to push them over, I think. Once they have that pass rush from the outside, that's going to help them out defensively.
I think it's going to really free up a lot of their other defensive players, and they're going to shine. And you'll see. I mean, Quay Walker was a really good defensive player in his own right last year. That's just one guy that's popping off the top of my head. And they had a couple really good young rookies that I think Cooper was one, and there was a couple other defensive linemen that really I think he's going to really offload the pressure from those guys. And it's going to be kind of like a San Francisco defense where you're going to have a whole unit of players. I mean, they got a couple really good defensive backs and safeties, and that defense is actually damn good for sure.
Yeah. So let's move on to the NFC South, which is a really boring division as well, if I have to say so myself. Mm-hmm. Buccaneers claimed their fourth division title.
Done. All right, next division.
They had a 10-7 record last year. Atlanta finished second with an 8-9 record. New Orleans finished third with a 5-12 record, tied by Carolina with a 5-12 record. At least for Carolina's sake, they still have Bryce Young, and Bryce Young looked good near the end of last season. New Orleans, they got a new head coach, Kellen Moore. Not too sure what they're going to do over there. I guess the leaders in the clubhouse would be the Buccaneers, but I wouldn't sleep on Atlanta either. They have a really good offense. What say you guys? Well, obviously, I already know what Steve says. What do you think, Kevin?
Provide a little insight here outside of just flat out picking the obvious pick, which I'm actually going to say I don't think it's going to be the Bucs. They could make the playoffs as a wild card. And maybe, I don't know, maybe they will, but I'm not going to pick them. And here's why. The coach is still Todd Bowles, is it not?
It is.
And Todd Bowles is an idiot. He is an idiot. And until you can tell me otherwise, I'm never going to get over the fact that guy thought he could win a game when he was down 3 touchdowns against a Lamar Jackson-led football team with 30 seconds left in the game, and he left his star wide receiver in the game only to watch him shatter his ankle.
And they lost Liam Cohen as an offensive coordinator.
And then they lost Liam Cohen, yes. Again.
Real quick question, Kev. Did you have that star wide receiver on your fantasy football team at the time?
Brilliant! What does it matter? What does it matter?
I wonder why Kev's taking this so personally.
And to be honest, actually, I did not. I did in one league, actually. But it was actually very annoying to watch because I was just like, there's no way they're going to win this game. I get it. If it's a playoff game or you are trying to make the playoffs, like you have to win that game, you do everything you can. It was like week 6. There was like virtually no chance. The statistics said the probabilities of them winning that game was 99%. The Ravens were going to win that game. Just get out of there healthy. The game's over. It's okay. You lost. Not a big deal. That's just idiotic moves he does. So I'm going to say it's going to be a sneaky close one, but I'm going to give it to the Falcons. And I think Michael Penix is going to have an excellent season for a second-year player. I don't think he's going to be like MVP quality, but I think he's going to win a few NFC Player of the Week awards this year. I think he's going to really vibe with Drake London. And maybe we'll even see Kyle Pitts return to his rookie season self and catch a few more touchdowns. I mean, we'll see. I don't know. But I'm going to go with the Falcons. I think the Saints are going to be horrendous. They're going to be the number 1 pick in the draft. It's very unlikely it won't be them. They look so bad. On paper, they're starting Spencer Rattler. I mean, that guy was abysmal last year. If you want to watch some bad quarterback play in the NFL, go watch a Saints game where he started last year. Terrible.
He's kind of been terrible everywhere he's gone. Like, he was supposed to be the number one recruit coming out of high school. He went to Oklahoma, it didn't work out. He went to South Carolina, didn't play great. Obviously got drafted based off of talent. I'd say he was serviceable last year, especially for a first time starting. But yeah, I don't expect much out of him. And there's not. I mean, there are some weapons, but there's some weapons that get injured often on that team. So I don't expect that to stay healthy at all. I think the biggest thing for me when it comes to the Buccaneers is they signed Hassan Reddick as their D end, and they need some pass rush. And he's when he's on the field, he's great. Obviously, he had the whole issue with the Jets last year, but the previous years when he was with the Eagles, he was legit. He was in the backfield, it seemed like all the time. So I think that's going to be a huge help, and that's the only reason I'm actually leaning towards the Buccaneers. But I do think Liam Cohen not being there is going to be a huge difference maker for Baker Mayfield and the way they call plays.
Yeah, I just that team's on the older side from a wide receiver standpoint. Mike Evans, character, however you feel about him, the dude produces, and he is the equivalent of Frank Gore of wide receivers. This guy has had now 1,000-yard receiving year. I think every single year that he's been in the NFL, he just broke Jerry Rice's record. It's incredible. The guy produces. He catches a lot of touchdowns, but he gets hurt too. And the reliability there. Then now you're starting a rookie on the other side of him, who was actually very good in Ohio State. Mecca Buka, I may say his name a little bit wrong, but people are really high on him, and he looked great coming out of Ohio State. I think he's going to be a really good number 2 guy, because Chris Godwin, the guy that I was talking about with the injury last season, is coming back. They paid him a fair amount of money to come back, but he's 30 years old, coming off a really bad leg injury, and he's not even going to be back until week 6. And so we don't even know what he's going to be like.
And those are the question marks. I think you nailed them perfectly with the Buccaneers. But I jumping on Michael Penix, I gotta see more, especially for the weapons he has around him. I just need to see a little bit more. Maybe getting Pitts involved a little bit more would help. He's a freak of an athlete for a tight end, and I feel like they underutilize him. Not just him, Kirk Cousins underutilized him.
I think actually what they need to do, and I actually don't dislike their secondary wide receivers outside of London, but if they make a trade to get like a solid second wide receiver there, then they could be really good. And because I think Bijan in the backfield, what is he doing?
I have no clue. Is it overheating? Is that your problem?
That's why you guys were just in my freezer for a little bit.
Speaking of freezers, the Carolina Panthers are going to be frozen at another turd-tastic season. Sorry. I mean, they're going to maybe win five games maximum.
They went 5-12 last year. Yeah. I'll give them another game or two. I think they win 6 or 7.
6 or 7. I could see that. I
think Bryce Young is becoming better and better and better, and now he's going to start have weapons.
We'll see.
I think Leggett's a good weapon. I think McMillan's going to be a great weapon for him. I feel like they'll score some points. Their defense has something to be desired, I guess.
We left one loser division to an even bigger loser division. There's only 3 Super Bowls in this one. Like, the Saints are going to be the worst team. The Falcons are the biggest choke artists of all time, in my mind. The Bucs, well, they only won 2 because Brady went in there with like the most loaded team of all time. And then the Panthers, their owner sucks. The guy thinks he can run. He's like, I made billions in the stock market. I can run a football team. No, you got other football guys to do that. This division is a waste of my time. Bucks win it. Let's move on.
All right.
2 of us have Bucks. 1 of us has Falcons. Okay, so put us on the record here. All right, let's go over to the NFC West, where last year it looks like it was the Rams that captured the division at 10-7 by your usual strength of victory tiebreaker. That's how they won over the Seattle Seahawks last year. Looks like after that, in 3rd place, we had the Arizona Cardinals, 8-9 record, and then the Niners with 6-11, and Niners were injured. Had a lot of injuries last year. I expect them to be a lot better this year, but who knows how that's going to turn out. I feel like the Rams are going to take a step back. They have a off-injured quarterback themselves, and who knows how that's going to go. They lost Cooper Kupp, although they did get Devontae Adams, but that's like one oldie for another. And then Cooper Kupp actually ended up over in Seattle. But what say you guys with the NFC West?
I'm really horrified already because I already just saw that Christian McCaffrey has re-injured his calf. And I just took him in our draft this past weekend, and I cannot believe that happened again. Like, Dude, I'm just starting to. But then again, the way it happened last year, Steve picked him and he won the league. So maybe this is just a good omen. You never know.
They just held him out of practice, but it's actually the calf.
It says calf is the reason for injury, but we'll see. It said he was limited or he held out? I don't know what exactly.
Yeah, I from what I read, he was held out of practice, but it wasn't injury. Well, it was injury obviously related, but it wasn't like, yeah, he's injured. That's why we're holding him out of practice.
Yeah, this division is tough to pick a real winner because they all have reasons why I don't like them to be like a clear division winner. I think it's going to be a close race. I think you're going to see this is the one of the I feel like the weakest divisions in football in a way that there's not going to be an obvious winner outright. Like just have a good idea going into the season. So I don't know if the Rams are able to stay healthy. I would say the Rams. I think they have probably the best team, both offense and defensive side. They have a consistent head coach in Sean McVay. He's been gotten better and better as an offensive coach. If Matthew Stafford can stay healthy, we'll see, right? They have Puka Nacua. They got Devontae Adams. They got Kyron Williams. They got actually some good rookie players that are coming for, I like their tight end, Ferguson. I mean, I think he's a talented, athletic guy who will probably supplant Higbee, who's their current tight end. And their defense is really good. They did have one of the best defensive linemen of all time. He's retired now, but I mean, my boy out of Jared Verse out of Florida State came in there and looked amazing. All right, and so we'll see. That defense looks really good. So I would say probably the Rams. The Seahawks are a completely different organization than they were last year. So I don't know. We'll see. They got a new quarterback. They got new receivers. The only consistent receiver they have is Jackson Smith and Jigba, but they lost the other two guys that were there with him. Kenneth Walker still in the backfield with Zach Charbonnet. We'll see. This should be an interesting team. They're going to run the football a lot, is my guess. So we'll see. And the Niners, I don't know. There are a lot of injuries again already to start the season off. They got a young defensive squad. Could be interesting.
Yeah, if McCaffrey's injured and Ayuk's already injured, they're not starting off great.
I'm not excited about that. I'll tell you that right now. And then that leaves the Cardinals. And the Cardinals are really good at being like a 10-win team max. And that's like max.
They're 8-9 last year. They did have one really good year under Kyler Murray. And they do have Marvin Harrison. And they do have McBride. I mean, they have some pieces offensively. Defensively is kind of their question. You're muted, Steve. You're still muted.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, totally. I was originally going to pick the Niners for this, but oh my God, all these injuries are like making me go crazy. But if you look at it, the Niners are literally every other year. They make it to the Super Bowl, it seems like, with Shanahan. So odds are they do it again this year if they stay healthy. We'll see. Who knows? Maybe Kevin's running back going in there, Brian Robinson, might take the helm and just run with it.
This is literally like the division of whoever stays healthy, they're going to win it.
Mm-hmm.
Minus the Arizona Cardinals. They're always usually pretty healthy. They just, as you say, only win 10 max.
Yeah, you say that, but I mean, then Kyler, he tore his knee like 2 years ago, and then he was out for a long time. So, like, yeah, they're healthy, kind of. I don't know.
Well, comparable to everybody else in this division, they're pretty healthy.
That's fair.
Yeah, and who knows what to expect out of Sam Darnold this year?
Yeah, but yeah, for the Seahawks, yeah, I don't. That's what I mean. That team is an enigma right now. There's so many new faces on that team. I don't know. They do have some exciting defensive player. Like that defense, I think actually is going to could be sneaky good because their head coach is a defensive-minded guy. So we'll see. I mean, he put together some pretty impressive defenses. He was with the Ravens a few years ago, and they made it to the playoffs several times under his tutelage. So
I think Sam Darnold turns back into a pumpkin this year. Against 13 ghosts.
Well, we'll find out.
Niners win. We're moving on.
Ginger, who you got?
I think I'm with you. I think I have the Rams. I think the Niners have a really good chance of making it if they stay healthy again. That's a huge if. I do love Ricky Pearsall, especially in the fantasy term. If you still haven't done your draft, then what the hell? But if you still haven't done it, like Ricky Pearsall, I think he's a great addition, especially in later rounds. I don't know why he still slips I've been seeing him 6th, 7th, 8th round, and I think that's a great value for him at that point. So, but yeah, I'm going to go Rams. I'm going to go Rams with maybe even if the Niners stay healthy, at least getting a wild card.
All right.
We can move on. One thing we didn't do from last week, before college football kind of kicked off, is doing our college football predictions for the playoffs as well as the national championship game in winter. With that said, I mean, there was a new top 25. 4 of the 10 teams from the top 25 lost last week, which is Texas, Clemson, Notre Dame, and Alabama. Now that they've kind of reorganized them, now that you guys actually gotten to see one whole week of college football, do you guys have your playoff teams for this year?
I don't have all 12.
All 12 of them? I could.
Yeah, if you have all 12, that'd be awesome.
No
if you
way.
Don't, then what do you have as a championship game? You don't have all 12? I mean, it should be easy. The group of 5 is USF. We learned that last week.
How crazy of us, Kev. We don't have all 12. We were busy, cooking food for the week and doing dishes and laundry. We didn't sit down and make a spreadsheet of all 12 of our playoff teams. Sorry, Steve.
What is this podcast for anyway?
I think right now it's hard to argue against the number 1 team right now. I mean, I think Ohio State showed. Now, they had home field advantage. I think there was a little bit of an unfair advantage for them to plan for this game for so long, right? And so I feel like they had a lot of time to come up with a very good game plan to nerf that offense for Texas. So I'm not throwing Texas out yet. I'm going to keep them in the top 12. But
you have to look at it logically too. For Arch Manning, I know he had a bad game, and it was a real bad game. If you watch some of it, he was late on throws, he was high on some, but that's what somebody new to the game is going to bring in. You're bringing in an elite defense that he has to go against on the road. That all plays factors. So I agree with you on that. Like Texas is still a player in this. But go ahead.
Mm-hmm. And I think I'd be hard pressed to put Alabama in that playoff race right now. Yeah, nothing. And listen, I'm proud of the Noles, but I'm not convinced yet. One game's not enough for me, especially after some of the history I've had to endure with this team. The Gators, again, I don't know. I feel like some of these teams played just joke organizations, so it's just like hard to really get a good vibe. I feel like I'll have much better. I'll have, I guarantee you, I will have a real list by week 5. I would say after week 5, I'll have a real list of what I think the playoffs are going to look like.
If he wants me to pick the national championship game, I'll do that right now. Why not? It's going to be Georgia against Ohio State. Georgia wins. Yep, there you go. National championship game right there.
I'll give you my 12 teams just because I did the research for myself. I'm kind of going off of just, first what I thought. I was like, okay, in the Big Ten, Ohio State, Penn State, Oregon, for sure. In the SEC, LSU, Georgia, and Texas, for sure. That's just what I had in my own. I'm convinced of Florida State just by last week. I shouldn't be because technically Alabama looked horrible last year against some teams, and those teams ended up, like Vanderbilt, for instance, beat Alabama last year, and they weren't anything. Like they barely beat Virginia Tech last year. They had to go to overtime to do it. But I'll put Florida State and Miami in there for right now from the ACC. So it'll be 2 teams from the ACC. Iowa State from the Big 12. Even though I do think Iowa State might lose this week to Iowa, there's a solid chance that could happen. Notre Dame, just because they're the independent team that will get in there. And then I have to do a group of 5 team. And since we talked about USF last week, I'll do USF. That leaves me one other team, so either from the Big 10 or the SEC. I decide I'm just going to do a surprise team. Not necessarily a surprise, but a surprise for the playoffs, and I'm going to go Ole Miss. So that'll be my 12 teams for me.
My thought on the USF pick is they can't lose very many games, okay? Their next 2 games are the Florida Gators and then the Miami Hurricanes. They could very easily just go 1-2, right? I mean, or if they go 3-0, now you're talking very interesting, right? Like the opposite direction here. I don't think that's going to happen, but it would be really intriguing to see for sure.
If they win one of those games, that would be astonishing. And if they lose both of them, I don't think that takes them out of it. I think they're fine.
I think if they lose both, they got to win the rest of their games.
Yeah. And they would have to win their conference. But they would have the Boise State win underneath them. I mean, they'd be good. They'd be fine.
We'll see.
Unless some other team randomly goes undefeated, then obviously that would put a little wrench to this whole thing.
I mean, that's a fine list. I can get on board with most of those. I think I'm not convinced with Iowa State. I feel like they barely won that game against Kansas State.
Just by watching LSU last week, I'm picking LSU to go to the finals, and then it's literally a make or break year for James Franklin, so I'm going to pick Penn State to go there. That's also a homer pick as well, but I don't care. Penn State LSU final.
Ugh.
Man, you guys, you really want to see Penn State get beat by LSU? That just sounds so boring.
Yeah, what happened the last 2 times LSU played Penn State?
Not in the championship game.
All right, I guess we can move on to our pick'ems that we did. First, from last week, Mr. Reilly and the no research that he does. He won the first week, getting 6 out of 10 correct, while Kevin and myself only got 5 out of 10 correct.
Gotta have a strategy and stick to it. That's what it is. Pick all the favorites. That's the strategy.
Awesome. Here, I'm just going to go quickly through some of these games. Just tell me who you pick. I'll start with tomorrow. There is the Chiefs and Chargers that will be in Brazil, and the Chiefs are -3.5. What do you guys have?
I took Chargers to cover, but now that I mean, when I did that, I originally thought it was a home game for the Chargers, and I forgot it was in Brazil. But, I mean, that's going to be a close game, and I think 3.5 is a good amount of points. I think I might still stick with that. Chargers to cover.
I'm going to go with Chiefs. I think they'll win by about 7 to 10, somewhere in that range.
I have the Chiefs as well. On Saturday, on the SEC network, you got, as we were talking about, USF taking on UF. -16.5 for UF as a favorite. Who do you guys have?
South Florida is definitely going to cover that because Florida is horrible at covering the spread, and they could even get upset in that game. So South Florida to cover.
I'm going to take the Gators to win the game, but not cover that spread. That's a big spread, and Steve's right. They do not do well at covering the spread. I mean, as long as I've been watching these kind of lines over probably the last 10 years, they've just not done a good job at covering the spread.
I'm going to take the Gators because I think they will cover the spread. I think USF is decent, but watching them last week, they do have holes, and I think Florida has the better talent. They should be able to cover that.
All right, cool.
Yeah, let's go to Sunday. We got Bengals at Browns, and the Bengals are 5.5 point favorite.
Oh, yeah, I think I picked the Bengals. Yeah, I think.
Oh, man, you're not jumping on board with Joe Flacco, your favorite quarterback? Your favorite week 1 quarterback, sorry.
Well, yeah, he's going to be putting up points because he's chasing all those points that the Bengals are going to be putting up. This is the first year that Joe Burrow's had a full camp since his rookie year, and they're going to finally come out and not start off slow. I think the Bengals will cover, and they'll win pretty nicely.
Yeah, I like that. That spread is not very exciting to me. Like, if it was like a 12.5 spread, maybe I could jump on it. I know that's a lot different, right? But even a 7.5 spread, I would be more excited about. But 5.5, that spread sucks. I'm going to go with the Bengals will cover that, or will win outright by more than 5.5.
I agree with that. I agree with all that as well. So I'll go Bengals as well. We got the Steelers at the Jets. Steelers 3.5 point favorite.
Crap. I think I took the Steelers on that one because the Jets are just awful, and they always will be awful. And they've got Justin Fields who can't throw, and Aaron Glenn is a new head coach, and it's the Jets. They suck. So, yeah, Steelers to cover.
I'm going to actually go different on this one because to be honest with you, I'm going to be cheering for the Steelers. I just don't know why, but I just don't know what the deal is with the Steelers. They look weird this season. Their identity is lost, I feel like. We'll see what Tomlin does with this team. That guy always finds a way to win.
It's a revenge game, too, for Aaron Rodgers. I didn't even think about that.
And for Justin Fields.
Wow, double revenge game. Bum, bum, bum.
I think the Jets cover the spread, but they lose by like 1 or 2.
Okay, I mean, like, that makes sense. Usually they say in professional football, 3 points is a huge spread. I'm still going to go with the Steelers. I mean, I just have a better team overall. Like, so I'm going to stick with that. I'll go, given the 3.5, I'll assume that they'll cover. Who the hell knows? The other game is the other person, part of the Steelers, Russell Wilson and the Giants, heading into Washington to play the Commanders. Washington's a 6.5 point favorite.
I'm picking the Commanders to win by at least 10.
I have the Commanders winning by a couple tutties as well.
Yeah, I think that's just a blowout.
It's a home game.
Yeah, Jane Daniels eats.
There was two games that I picked where I thought those teams would win by 2 tutties or more, and one of them's definitely not going to happen. And then this one I expect to happen. The one that's definitely not going to happen is with a minute 45 left in the game, Eagles 3rd and 3. A chance to salt it away, 24-20 currently. Who did you guys pick? It is a 6.5 point favorite Eagles team against the Cowboys.
I predicted a 34-20 score. I was actually not too far off. Had you guys just sucked it up, got 10 more points, you would have made me look like a genius.
What'd you say the score was? Oh, 24-20. Okay. So it looks like Eagles should pull this off. Is that what I'm not watching the game right this
They
second.
just got the first down. That means they salted it away. So, yeah, that's ball game. It's going to be 24-20.
So I predicted that the Eagles would win. I said it was going to be 34-13 or something like that. I don't know. I sent you the text.
Yeah, I had 31-13. You had 34-13.
Yeah.
It's honestly pretty impressive showing by the Cowboys. We all thought they were going to get blown out after the Parsons thing.
I mean, honestly, if Jalen Carter's in there, I think this is a completely different game.
I agree.
I would be willing to be. We made these predictions before the loogie spit.
That's the thing is we're not lying to the people.
That's one extra touchdown in my eyes that doesn't happen. And so you take away a touchdown, and that's 13. So I'm sticking to my prediction. The offensive production was a little lame duck on the Eagles. There was a lot of short passes on this game and a lot of runnings.
That is the Eagles. That's just kind of what they are. They're a running team, and they're just going to keep just doing that. Like, that's why I didn't draft too many Eagles this year.
You're not wrong, and I just figured that it was going to be obvious that was what they were going to lean on, and the Cowboys would try to take that away, but they decided to double team both wide receivers and leave the short routes under and let Saquon and Jalen just run it up the gut. I mean, over and over and over and over and over and over again. I mean, that's my observation of tonight's game, basically.
Well, eventually some people are going to see the highlights and are going to realize that there was a nice down-the-field throw that went to CeeDee Lamb, and he just sort of flat out dropped it.
Goody. That's my fantasy player.
Classic CD's nuts.
That was a big play, and then on the 4th down, they tried to go with a fly route with him, just overthrew him. He had to try to dive and make it. But
I love hearing my fantasy wide receiver sucking. All right, sweet.
All right, what other pick'ems we got? Is that it? We got
no, we do have more, but I just want to check on statistics of this Eagles game. I just want to see did Brown get any throws today?
Last I checked, he had a goose egg, which means Clay, you're going to owe an ice if that's the case.
He had 1 reception for 8 yards.
He caught one. He caught one.
1 reception on 1 target for 8
Clay
yards.
lucks out again. Oh man,
He'll be on a trade block tomorrow morning.
Goddard was 7 receptions, 44 yards.
I mean, that's good for a tight end.
Dotson led the Eagles with 59 yards, so only 152 yards passing for the Eagles.
Gosh, dude, that's crazy.
Hertz ran for 62 and had 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, I had to play against him. Awesome.
All right, moving on. Let's go to the big college game. So the big college game is number 15, Michigan Wolverines, and number 18, Oklahoma Sooners. This is going to be on Saturday, September 6th, 7:30 Eastern on ABC. Chris Fowler and Kirk Herbstreit on the call from Gaylord Field, Oklahoma Memorial Stadium in Norman, Oklahoma. It is a 5.5 point favorite, Oklahoma Sooners, welcoming the Wolverines. Who do you guys got?
I picked Michigan. And, I didn't know that their field was named Gaylord Field. Had I known that, I would have picked Michigan for sure. So I'm happy with my pick. Go play on your Gaylord Field and lose to Michigan. You Gaylords.
I wanted to pick the Sooners, but then I actually watched a little bit of highlights of Michigan play this past weekend, and I was actually pretty impressed. I thought they looked pretty good.
The running game looked good. I was not impressed with Bryce Underwood, who's supposed to be this all-time guy.
You didn't think so? I thought he looked really comfortable out there.
He looked better than Arch Manning, but they played New Mexico.
That's why, again, you go out and you have a game like that. You work out the kinks. I don't know. It's hard to teach calmness in the pocket like that. I don't know. I think I'm going to go with him just because I thought, isn't he like 18 years old? Right? He's so fresh and the vibe I got from a kid, a literal kid. You're right. I mean, I was pretty impressed. I know, yes, it was New Mexico. I get it.
I think any of the three of us could look better than Arch Manning against New Mexico.
Yeah, for me, I'm going Michigan as well. They are 2-1 against the spread as a road underdog last season, and they are 13-4 against the spread in the last 17 home games. On the reverse, Oklahoma is 1-4 against the spread in the last 5 games. So even though John Mateer threw for 392 yards and 4 touchdowns against Illinois State, again, against Illinois State. So you don't really know how good that was. And if you watch any of that highlights, every one of his receivers were like 10 to 20 yards open. Like there was nobody from Illinois State that was keeping up with any of the Oklahoma receivers. But I'll go with the stats on that. I'll take Michigan.
So what you're telling me is the game analysis of him against who do they play again?
Illinois State.
Illinois State. It didn't really mature because they were so crappy.
Jeez. Should we cut this one too?
Yeah, cut that.
All right, let's move on to the NFL. Sunday, September 7th, 4:25 Eastern, game of the week, whatever they call that, on CBS with Jim Nantz and Tony Romo on the call from the frozen tundra. I guess it won't be so frozen on Sunday, but from the frozen tundra at Lambeau Field in Green Bay, Wisconsin, it's the Detroit Lions with Jared Goff taking on the newest defensive acquisition, Micah Parsons, and the Green Bay Packers. Packers are 1.5-point favorites. Who do you guys got? This should be a good game, by the way.
I think this is going to be a really good game. I'm going to stick to my guns and go with the North winner that I already predicted. I think we all agreed on him too. I don't know how much Parsons is going to play this game, but I think home field advantage week 1 with, more continuity of returning players, healthier squad for the most part. I'm gonna go with the Packers. I think they're gonna win and cover. That spread's not really that big, so I'm just gonna go with them to win it and cover.
Packers. Done.
Always great analysis for Mr. Steven Reilly. All right, so Detroit has won 6 of the last 7 matchups. Against the spread, Detroit has been exceptional. So they're 14-6 against the spread in the last 20 games. They are 12-4 against the spread in the last 16 games against the Packers. And the Lions are 6-2 against the spread in the last 8 road games at Lambeau. Despite all of that, I'm with you. I think Micah Parsons makes a big deal. I think he doesn't play a lot, but he plays enough. He'll make at least 1 sack, maybe 2. And I will give the 1.5, and I think the Packers win.
I love how Steve goes through all the stats and everything. He's like, well, yeah, but yeah, I'll go with what they're saying too.
I think the biggest deal isn't Parsons. I think it's the Lions' huge turnover at both offensive and defensive coordinator. I think that's going to be the biggest difference early on in the season. Maybe they overcome it, and maybe they can win the division. I just think that's a lot to lose. That's all.
I agree. All right, let's move on to the next one. Sunday Night Football, Sunday, September 7th, 8:20 p.m. on NBC with Mike Tirico and Chris Collinsworth on the call. The game's going to be played at Highmark Stadium. It'll be the last season in Highmark Stadium before they move to their new digs, which is called Highmark Stadium. That's located in Orchard Park, New York. It's the Baltimore Ravens, led by Lamar Jackson, taking on Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills. Bills are favored by 1.5. Who do you guys got?
Don't hate on the Buffalonians. My entire family is from Buffalo, so no one tried to sit here and say they were clever at coming up with new stadium names. They like their stadium. Let them keep it. And for that,
I was trying to come up with an intro for it.
No, I like it. I actually thought it was good.
Highmark Stadium. I was like, what's the new stadium be called? And it was like, oh, it's gonna be Highmark Stadium. I'm like, really? It's just gonna be the same shit? All right.
It's really hard for me to pick against the Bills, but looking at who they're playing against, and you're giving Lamar 1.5, especially how that game. You may remember the Ravens game, first game that they played last year was against the Chiefs. Remember, it was that nail biter came down. They probably should have won the game, but Isaiah Likely couldn't keep his foot in bounds. It was a credible game. I think we're going to see a game just like that.
It was the Chiefs.
I know. That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
I'm predicting the game is going to be just like that. I hope I'm wrong because I'm go Bills, but I think the Ravens are going to steal one on them. I'm picking Ravens to win it. But go Bills. Go Bills. I'm cheering for the Bills. I love the Bills, but I'm gonna pick that play right there.
Yeah, I can see that because Lamar, he can win the games that don't matter. If it's if this is a playoff game, Lamar would lose. So I'll actually pick the Ravens too because they'll win this one, but then the Bills will get them in the playoffs. There you go. Hashtag analysis.
What I have is the Ravens are 5-1 against the spread in the last 6. They're 14-6 against the spread in the last 20. Last year, where they went 5-1 against top 10 offenses, holding opponents to 6 points under their season average. Lamar Jackson is 64% against the spread when he's an underdog, and Buffalo's defense gave up 460 yards in the playoff game despite winning. With all that, I believe the Ravens have a better defense. So I will take the Ravens. Plus the 1.5. You're going to give me the Ravens and 1.5. If the Bills win, I think they win by 1. So I still think they cover. And then we'll do the Monday Night Football game, which is Monday, September 8th, 8:15 p.m. Eastern, ESPN, ESPN2, and ABC. All depends on how you want to watch it. So it's either with Joe Buck and Troy Aikman in the booth or Peyton and Eli Manning if you want to watch the Manning cast. So it's from Soldier Field in Chicago, Illinois. It's the Minnesota Vikings taking on the Chicago Bears. Vikings are 1.5-point favorites. Who do you guys have?
I'm going to take the Bears to start the season 1-0 and then subsequently go 1-4 the following next several games. They will be at week 5. After week 5, I'm predicting they're going to be 1-4.
That'd be such a Chicago thing to do, right?
Yeah.
Get them really high on the first week and just drop them off the cliff.
Yeah, I hope I am wrong, but I don't. Whatever. It is what it is. That team still has a lot to prove to its fan base and that division and that conference and the NFL. There's a lot. Again, there's just a lot of unanswered questions. We'll see. I'm really curious to see how that offense looks this year with Ben Johnson. Well, I'm curious to see how Caleb looks in his second year as a starter. I don't know. What do you think, Ginger?
So I actually think the Bears are going to be better than what they were last year. And I just solely base that off of, I think Ben Johnson's a really good coach. And him being able to control that offense, I think is going to really help it out. Last year they threw the ball an awful lot when they shouldn't have been. So I think that's going to help them out. Now they're going to have, I believe, 2 tight end sets going forward. That should help out with the running game. That should help out with play action. That should help Caleb Williams actually thrive. You would think. Now we're going to have to find out if Caleb Williams is what they think Caleb Williams could be. But I do think they'll be a little bit step forward from that team. I don't think they're going to be as bad as they were last year. So with that said, what I'm choosing is basing off of those 2 teams currently. And I think the Vikings won 8 out of their last 10 matchups against the Bears. The last 6 games, they covered the spread 4 times. But in overall, when it comes to the NFL, week 1 divisional games at home have historically favored the underdog. Those teams that have been the underdog have won 79.3% of the time since 2009. So that would say that I should pick the Bears. But for some reason, I'm drinking the J.J. McCarthy juice. So J.J. the J.J. J.J. to Justin Jefferson. I think it pays off big for the Vikings. I will give the 1.5, and I'll take the Vikings.
I can't go the whole podcast and shit on the Bears without doing it again. Bears lose. Because they're, like I said, a big bunch of losers. Sorry, Chicago fans. The Bears lose again, like they always do. Get used to it. Oh, wait, you are. All right. Done.
Sausage. Somewhere Chris Farley's having a heart attack.
The Bears.
That Bears. So.
Yeah, so we'll see how those picks actually shape up. Steve, what'd you go with? All favorites last week or all underdogs last week? It's one of the 2.
I did all underdogs in the draft order pick 'em, and I came in 9th place there, so that didn't work out very well. Then all favorites against you guys, and I took the lead. So it just shows I shouldn't gamble because it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter what I do. It's not good.
I always go with this, but against the spread is the hardest thing to do. You can know a lot about football, or you think you can know a lot about football, and then things like Jalen Carter spitting on somebody changes the whole thing. Yep. So you never know. We'll see how we do with the pick'ems coming up, but to kind of end the show, or as we're going towards the end of the show, let's do kind of playoff predictions, or you want to do Super Bowl predictions? I don't know if you guys can muster up 14 different teams from 2 different conferences.
Nah, we'll just do the
Couldn't
Super
do
Bowl.
12 from college.
Just do the Super Bowl. Yeah. I mean, I could probably do the NFL, but let's just do the Super Bowl.
I mean, we already covered who you would have for your division winners. That's pretty much the majority of plays.
You go division winner, or you can go conference winners. What's the conference championship look like?
I could probably do it. I could do it easier than college. So I guess if that's what you want to do it, sure.
Oh, we could do conference championship games. What do you have in the AFC conference championship game? What do you have in the NFC conference championship game?
AFC championship game, Chiefs Ravens.
So you don't even have the Bills getting there, huh?
Nope.
I'm gonna go AFC. I'm gonna go Broncos Ravens.
Wow.
Wow.
Listen, so it's hard for me to go against Kansas City because they've been there every single year.
Yeah, that's why I'm gonna do something a little different. I'm gonna do something a little different.
Well, because until that trend stops, I'm going to pick Kansas City, so they're definitely in it. And I just believe in Buffalo this year. So I'm going to go Kansas City and Buffalo.
My hope is me not picking them will help them get there.
We don't want to jinx it. Yeah.
I don't want to jinx it, but
yeah,
I know I'm cheering for it. In real life, I know I'm cheering for it, but this is my prediction thing. And so we're just going to.
All right. Then for the NFC Championship game, Steve, who do you got?
Packers, Eagles.
I'm going to go Packers because I pretty much kind of leaned into them pretty heavily. I'm going to go Packers, Commanders.
And I already was thinking this originally, but I'm with Steve. I got Packers, Eagles.
All right.
And what's your Super Bowl matchup and Super Bowl winner?
I've got Ravens, Eagles, and then the Eagles repeat. Calling it back to back.
Great. It's great analysis there. I love it.
I've got zero reasoning for it. I'm just going off of feels.
No, I like the feels. I have Ravens also. And I think we're going to see – I'm going to go Packers. Ravens, Packers, and I think Lamar wins a Super Bowl. More so, it's really Josh Allen going to win a Super Bowl, going to bring it home for the Bills. But hey, I have Bills, Eagles, and then obviously I can't go against my own team, so I'm going to go Eagles. I do think the Bills have a like the AFC is the harder route, right? So Chiefs, Bills, Ravens, even the Broncos this year. I think that's a good surprise choice for some people, but the harder route's going through the AFC. I don't think through the NFC. I think the NFC has maybe 3 to 4 teams. If I had to go, it's the Eagles, Commanders, Lions, Packers. I think that's the major 4 in the NFC. Yeah, I think so. You could maybe mix in the Bucks, but I'm not going to.
I'm not either. All right, guys. I think that's good enough for this episode.
Yeah, we talked about a lot. Definitely a longer one today. Intertwined delay in the football game. Still fun. We definitely got around to talking about the fantasy stuff that we wanted to talk about. Hopefully it helps. I don't know. Maybe we just made it more confusing. I have no idea.
Yeah, we probably just sound like bumbling idiots, but we tried.
I mean, we are. So
yeah,
stay on
range. Let's just put that out there. We are bumbling idiots. Don't take any of our advice. I just shit on an entire franchise, an entire podcast, and an entire city.
You shit on an entire state, a country, city, a team. You shit on everything.
Sounds like it's my calling card. So you know what? Might as well lean into it. Somebody's got to be the heel. You guys can be the baby faces. I don't care.
Now we're doing wrestling terms. This is awesome.
Well, no, I mean, in real life, there's always a baby face and there's always a heel. You just throwing in the wrestling terms. That's probably because I listened too much to the Pat McAfee show. Anyway.
As we mentioned earlier, we're always willing to take some feedback. And now we have an email address that you guys can send feedback to, which is the number 2, BROSNROJO@gmail.com. Hey, we had to do something so that it would make it easier on people to actually get a hold of us. Eventually, we'll kind of release everything else, our Facebook, our YouTube. If you can find it, that's awesome. Good for you. If not, eventually, once we have some video the aspects to this, that'll be when the YouTube comes out and the Facebook stuff comes out. I also was told that our podcast logo and cover is almost done.
Oh, nice. Looking forward to that.
Yeah, excited to see what that looks like.
We might have another intro.
Hey, yeah, if we can get an intro, we discussed this earlier. That'd be awesome.
Well, we got a sample.
Yeah, we got a sample. I mean, our cousin Chris put one together, and it was actually pretty good. So I don't know. We got to play around with it a little bit. It's not identifiable enough. So we'll get there. It's still a work in progress. We're just,
plugging away here.
3 dudes and a giant cup, which is.
Oh. By the way, his being Kevin's screen name today is the wrong kind of clap for all those that have been tracking all of his different screen names.
That's true. We didn't mention that one yet. I don't like this one. This one's a good one.
All right, guys. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next time.
All right.
Thanks for joining.